Terms defining damnable behaviors, such as racist, misogynist, or fascist, used by the left, or communist, anarchist, and evil, used by the right, are thrown around like hand grenades today. Do you think this causes them to lose their meaning? And if so, is there an appropriate way to counter their overuse without defending those who truly espouse such beliefs? So the short answer is yes, I do think the overuse and in particular the misapplication of any of these words diminishes their impact. If you use the word racist to describe someone like Joe Rogan, or, if you use the word racist to describe someone like Mike Pesca or Don McNeil, if you use the word racist to characterize tens and tens of millions of people who say vote Republican, if you use the word racist to describe every Republican candidate in my lifetime, for president at least, well, yes, then it doesn't smack most people as true in many of those cases. And because of that, it loses some of its power to shame actual racism. Right? Like these words only have power insofar as people genuinely feel the appropriate reaction upon hearing the word, right? Like when I was a kid and I had no reason yet to suspect that anyone would cynically accuse someone of being a racist when they actually weren't. Back in those naive days, if I heard someone call someone else a racist, all my alarm bells would go on. I'd say, oh my God, so this person is a racist. That is extremely important. It is, I'm inclined to believe it. And if it's true, that is a huge deal. Right? It's like if someone calls someone else a pedophile, like that word hasn't been so overused, right? So if I hear that someone was a pedophile, I have the appropriate reaction, right? Because it's a word that's retained its power. With the word racist, by the time I got to a certain age in life, I had heard it used and misused so many times that my instinctive reaction to it began to change. Like if you've heard the word racist applied more often where it shouldn't be applied than where it should, your mental heuristic for how you react to an accusation of racism is going to be informed by that experience, right? The moment you hear it, you're going to be thinking, you know what? It's probably another fake accusation of racism. It's probably another misapplication. And that's what it is for a word to lose its power, is that it doesn't elicit the appropriate reaction when used because it's been misused almost more than it's been used correctly. And everything I just said was a very complicated and long-winded way of saying that the boy who cried wolf effect is real. We've all known it ever since we heard that story as kids, and yet many people seem to have forgotten it. I mean, another way that you can make this point vivid is two examples in history where cynical accusations of say, racism or communism, to take an example of the opposite political persuasion, have led to really regrettable outcomes. And I think McCarthyism, having the notion and history of McCarthyism in your toolkit as an example where false accusations of something led to horrible consequences is a very useful one. There's another one that is lesser known, but has always been fascinating to me, which is Lysenkoism and the Lysenko affair. And just to give a brief summary of this, in the Soviet Union, there was a scientist named Trofim Lysenko who believed that you could turn one plant species into another. He didn't believe in Mendelian genetics. He had all kinds of quack claims and quack theories about how you could boost Soviet agriculture. But the basic picture is he was completely wrong. He was a fraud. He claimed to be able to turn certain trees into other trees. And yet his version of plant science became the official doctrine of the Soviet Union. And it's just a very interesting episode from history to see how the hell a nation that was really on the forefront of many other sciences like physics how could they possibly have made something so absurd official state doctrine and actually implemented it when everyone in the world knew that plants passed on their genes and that is fundamental to understanding agriculture? And one way that this happened was right after Nazism was defeated, and anything to do with genes and genetics had a connotation of racism and fascism. So if you look back at the arguments Russian Soviet scientists were having, it was just a clusterfuck of accusations of racism and fascism. It's like Lysenko was accusing every scientist who disagreed with him of being a Nazi. And it worked. I mean, that wasn't the only reason he won, but it was a major feature of the battles between Soviet scientists at that time. And this is just a lesser known example from history. Obviously, an understandable overreaction to Nazism led to absolute absurdities and to real harm. So having these examples like McCarthyism and Lysenkoism from history is a really useful kind of landmark for understanding and not repeating those kinds of hysterias in the present.